right, what is going on, guys? Welcome to Tuesday night's coaching call. Today we're going to be talking about foam rolling, warming up, static stretching, when you should be doing what, that type of thing. Pretty excited about it. This is one of my favorite topics. I actually have a certification in what's called corrective exercise. So it talks over these exact things. So I'll try to get this camera angle, and as well I need to point. Still trying to figure this this new camera out. But so let's talk about the warm up before you do an exercise. There's really two types of warm up. There's the global warm up, which is probably more like cardio based, right? So getting on the elliptical, getting on the treadmill, the bike, the rower, something like that, right? Getting that cardiovascular system working, getting the blood flowing, increasing body temperature, lubricating the joints, all of that good stuff. Also, if you're watching, do hashtag, if you're watching live, do hashtag live. If you're watching replay, hashtag replay. It just makes it get in front of everybody else here in the group, which is really cool. So that's a global warm-up, is just kind of general overall warm-up. The other thing is what's called a specific warm-up. So this would be like doing a set with lighter weight of let's say squats or bench press or something like that, that is going to be a movement that you're doing later in the exercise, but you're just starting on a lighter weight. You go through a full range of motion, just kind of priming your body, getting it ready to actually perform that form of exercise. And that's really the purpose of a warm-up, is to prime the body and the mind for the exercise that's about to be taking place. Part of your warm-up should be what's called corrective work or corrective stretching or something like that. So right now I'm sitting in a chair, and because of that, there are certain muscles that are shortened, and then there are certain muscles that are lengthened. And over time, especially if you sit consistently or you do repetitive movements or that type of thing, those things can get kind of stuck that way in a way, right? It's like when you were a kid and your dad would say, you make an ugly face, and your dad would say, hey, don't do that because your face will get stuck that way. He was joking, obviously, but in a kind of a roundabout way, it is true. So, for example, a lot of us here, in America and Canada, we sit, right? In this new society, we sit a lot. Sit at a desk, we drive in a car, we eat our food. Sometimes I like to play video games, so I game in this hunched position. Typically, your hamstrings are shortened, your hip flexors are shortened, your chest gets overly tight, and that's what I mean when I say shortened. It's tight, it's chronically tight. Your head gets into this posture, and unless we fix those muscular imbalances, especially if we then try to go and exercise while still having those muscular imbalances, it can cause discomfort, it can cause pain, it can cause rubbing on the joints, that type of thing. Your joints have what's called instantaneous axis of rotation, which essentially just is a really big name for the way that your body and joints are set up and would prefer to move. But let's say you have a joint here, right, and it's supposed to move like this, but one side is too tight, and so it pulls it off that. And now instead of like this nice gliding motion, because it's pulled off of that, now it like kind of creaks and rubs, if that makes sense. And so to fix that, there's a couple things that you can do. Two types of releasing techniques, and then activating the other side. So for the muscles that are chronically tight or overactive, right? So in this scenario, our hip flexors, our hamstrings, our chest, typically our arms down at our side, so our lats, because lats pull our arm in that position. So those muscles are typically tight on a majority of individuals. And what you'll want to do is stretch, static stretch, and myofascial release. So taking a foam roller or a lacrosse ball or a softball or something and digging into the muscle. And then static stretching as well releases that. And the way that it does that is there's a Golgi tendon body that essentially what you're doing is kind of like overloading the system with input. So it's kind of like a an electrical breaker of the house, right? Like you plug in something, if it overloads the system, it just kind of like shuts off, right? It's a defense mechanism. So our bodies have that, something similar to that with, and you can utilize that by static stretching or myofascial release by pushing into an overactive muscle or by static stretching a muscle and turn it off. But that's only part of the solution, right? Because in this scenario, you have one muscle that is chronically short and tightened on one side of the joint, and the other one is too long or underutilized. And so what you're going to want to do is relax this muscle and then activate or shorten this other one. So, for example, with your hip flexors, you're in a sitting position, the muscle on the opposite side of the hip flexor would be the glutes. Most individuals, because we spend so much time sitting on our glutes, as well as tight hip flexors, have underactive glutes. So what you'd want to do is do some type of kneeling psoas stretch, or that half kneel posture to stretch the psoas or the hip flexor. You can even just like Google hip flexor stretch, and usually they're in like a kneeling position, and then sometimes they'll take this arm up and over. So a kneeling stretch, and then doing like a glute bridge or activating the other side of that muscle, other side of that joint is going to be the most effective. So within your warm up, you should do some type of global warm up, get the body ready to go. If you do have muscular imbalances, spending a little bit of time stretching your tight muscles, activating the muscles that might be underutilized or underactive, and then getting into your workout. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a tickle in my throat. There's been a little bit of research done on static stretching prior to working out. Now, there's for a little while it was like, yes, do it, and then there was a little bit of time where it's like, no, it increases risk of injury, and now it's kind of to the point where, yes, it might reduce the physical output of the muscle that you're stretching, but unless you are a performance-based athlete, the amount that it's going to reduce in performance or output, power output, in my opinion, the amount that it's going to, the potential negatives of not producing enough force or as much force versus the benefits of correcting those muscular imbalances, to me, it makes it worth it. But a better way to go around it should be to do the myofascial release or the foam rolling instead of the static stretching. So do foam rolling pre-workout before your workout. And then if you do have those muscular imbalances that you're going to try to fix, or tight muscles, or, you did a hard leg day the day before, and now you have delayed onset muscle soreness, you're a little bit sore afterwards, and you want to work through that, do the static stretching after your workout. Just because if you want to kind of mitigate that, do a warm up and myofascia or foam rolling before, do your exercises, and then do static stretching post workout. Can you dance instead of as a warm up? Yes, for sure. Anything, let me see, I can click see more. I told you it's kind of a new phone. But I find it more effective to get me primed for strength training. I think that's awesome. Yeah, you're typically when you're dancing, right, you're taking your arms and your legs through full ranges of motion. You're getting that body movement going, you're getting the cardio up, you're getting the blood pumping, increasing your body temperature, which are all really great things, especially before some type of strength training bout, where if you try to lift with a cold muscle, odds are you're going to pull it just because it's not primed for exercise, right? There's no blood flowing to it. The temperature is lower, so the risk of you injuring yourself without doing a warm up is a lot higher. So any type of like dance or cardio or really anything that gets you moving is going to be super beneficial for you. And then you do your workout, and then post workout you'll want to do some type of static stretching or releasing those overly tight muscles. And Oh, I just lost my train of thought. So static stretching afterwards. Oh, and then you'll want to do some type of cool down as well, just because when you do activity, especially strength training or you're doing any types of weights, your body to produce that movement and to produce those things, it uses certain energy pathways, and then there are byproducts. One of the byproducts of that movement is lactic acid, right? We've all heard about the lactic acid. And that's a byproduct of strength training. It's a byproduct of movement. Your body is really efficient at getting rid of that, but you can help it even further by doing a adequate cool down. So like hopping back on the cardio equipment and doing just like a casual pace, right? Like not even as intense as your warm up, like a little bit less. And you'll notice if you do that consistently, you'll notice that you are a lot less sore, and you recover a lot better when you do a cool down, because you're kind of assisting your body in metabolizing those byproducts back into the system, so that it doesn't go from like super intense and has all of this extra, kind of waste from the movement, and then it's responsible for getting rid of all of that by doing a cool down. And then obviously static stretching can help the muscle specifically, but doing a cool down can be beneficial as well because you help buffer that process. So that would be kind of my biggest advice, or the biggest takeaway. So pre-workout, do some type of, before you work out, do some type of warm up, and then myofascial release or foam roll, lacrosse ball, that type of thing, as well as do a specific warm up on your chest if you're doing bench press, or your lats when you're doing a lat pull down or squats or something like that. Do it at a lighter weight and full range of motion, right? You're just kind of priming yourself. Then you have like the actual workout, and then post workout do a small bout of cardio, super low intensity, and then static stretch. You're going to be in a great spot if you kind of follow that structure or that layout. So hope you guys found this useful. If you guys have any questions, put them in the comment section down below and I will get to them. And I hope you guys have a great Tuesday night.